very happy, safe, and healthy Thanksgiving. Tonight's meeting will be recorded live on Comcast Channel 22 or Verizon Channel 33. The videographer for tonight's meeting is Rob, and you can check out www.rctv.org for more information and for replay times. So welcome all of you who are joining us live tonight. We have 4 members in person, and we have Carlo Bacci remote. And so we'll get started. Let me give you a quick overview of our meeting this evening. But before I do that, I believe, Caitlin, you've been taking care of us for a long time, and I understand this might be your last select board meeting for a while?
Yep, I'm going to take a little break.
Okay, well, we wish you all the best, and thank you so much, and we'll figure out what to do while you're gone.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best. Thank you for everything, Caitlin.
And we're looking forward to an update on the happy news.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
All right, so tonight we're going to start off with a hearing for a change of manager for Fuddruckers. Then at 8:10, a hearing and a vote for a pledge of license for Liquor Junction. Then at 8:20, a hearing and vote to amend the FY22 classification plan, adding the mental health position. At 8:30, we will discuss the energy reduction plan. A vote will follow at a date in December. At 8:50, we will discuss and vote to approve our new precinct maps. At 9 o'clock, we will discuss and vote to execute a purchase and sale agreement for the portion of land identified as Lot 5 and plans attached to Meadowbrook Golf Club's July 6, 2021 notice of intent to sell. At 9:15, we'll continue with the discussion of working with Meadowbrook Golf Club for an easement over a portion of their property. At 9:20, we have a consent agenda, including a vote to approve a deed for S&L Homes LLC off of Franklin Street, a vote to appoint members to the Ad Hoc Reading Center for Active Living Committee, RECALC, and a discuss and vote to approve a climate advisory census survey insert. We'll follow that with Select Board Liaison and Town Manager report. At 9:45, we will be available for public comment. We will then discuss future agendas, approve November 9th meeting minutes. And then at 10:20, we will adjourn to executive session, vote to approve collective bargaining agreements for the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO Local 1640, and Public Works, AFSCME Council 93, Local 1703. We will not be returning to open session at that time. So with that, do we need to, I need to turn over to my great secretary. Thank you.
To the inhabitants of the town of Reading, please take notice that the Select Board of the town of Reading will hold a series of public hearings on November 23rd, 2021 in the Select Board meeting room at the Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. Also available remotely on Zoom to act on the following. At 8 p.m., discuss and vote a change of manager request for an annual all-alcohol restaurant license for HJB Restaurant Company, LLC, DBA Fuddruckers at 50 Walkersbrook Drive. At 8:10, discuss and vote a pledge of license/inventory request for an annual package store license for Kajal and Kevin, LLC, DBA Liquor Junction at 1 General Way. At 8:20, vote to amend the FY22 classification plan to remove vacant unused positions and add public safety clinician. A copy of the proposed documents regarding this topic will be in the Select Board packet on the website at www.readingma.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing in person or remotely via Zoom, or may submit their comments in writing or by email to townmanager@ci.reading.ma.us per order of Robert W. LeLasher, Town Manager.
Thank you. So at this point, do we open it up in case, do we want to turn this over to Town Manager for an update that everything is in good order and the staff is satisfied with this change request? Would that make sense?
I can give you a quick update.
Okay, great.
So I believe Chris Latham and the new manager is actually in the room right now if you have any
great.
questions for them. But this is a change of manager, and they're changing it to Haley, who is also the owner of Fuddruckers currently. All their paperwork's in order, and the police have done their checks and have said it can move forward on their end.
Marvelous. Great. So would board members like to make any comments, or we could ask the requester if they would like to speak?
I have a couple of questions, but it can happen before or after.
Okay, why don't you go ahead first? Yes, please. Thank you.
By the dot.
All right. Good to see you all in person. Chris Latham on behalf of HJB Restaurant Company, LLC, DBA Fuddruckers, and its principal, Jane Haley Benitez, relative to its amendment of the alcohol manager on the existing all alcohol license. Please note that the currently listed alcohol manager, Nicole Lee Hayes, gave her notice in October that she was changing her career, and as a result, Fuddruckers has not served any alcohol since October 22nd.
Oh, wow.
And we provided you folks with notice consistent with the policies and the bylaws, so we try to be good neighbors.
Appreciate that.
With that said, Haley obtained her U.S. citizenship this year, and she's also the owner of the applicant.
Congratulations.
And so she's
Congratulations.
figured it's a good time to be to seek her appointment as alcohol manager. She has extensive experience both in alcohol service, and she's been in alcohol service for 25 years, both in the United States and the United Kingdom. And she's been a manager of Fuddruckers Restaurant for 16 years.
Wow.
In addition, as the actual owner of the applicant, no one is more invested, responsible, or aware of the seriousness, risks, and potential hazards and liability of alcohol. We thus request that the board approve the amendment of the applicant's alcohol license by supporting applicant's amendment to have Haley as listed as new alcohol manager. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And thank you for your time and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. Haley, so I think we asked this question last time, but is your maiden name Davies?
Yes, yes, sir,
So
it
your
is.
married name is Benitez?
Correct.
Okay, because the ServSafe is under Haley Davies.
Yeah, that's my maiden name.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Second question, when did HDB Restaurant Company LLC come into existence?
November 30th of 2020.
Okay, and has Fuddruckers been operating under that name as of then?
Yeah, as of November 30th, 2020.
Great. Okay, so any required insurances and things are all taken care of under that name?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm set, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from board members? No, very good. So should I close the hearing now?
We probably should do the other, since it's a hearing of
Yep.
3.
Yeah.
Should we do all 3? And also see if there's any public comment? I don't know if there is or isn't.
Oh, is that appropriate?
It's a public hearing.
For all three?
The hearing is
So,
for all three,
yes.
it sounds like,
Okay.
the way it was noticed in red.
Okay, I was thinking we would close each one and open the next one and go to the next one. What am I missing?
It was read as one.
Yeah, I think it was posted as 1, I think.
Posted and read just now as
Like
one
Yeah,
a
it was
here.
posted as 1.
Okay.
Oh, it says a series of public hearings, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, you mean as you read it?
Yeah, it says a series
A
of public
series.
hearings.
Because I was looking
Okay.
at this and that's how I,
Okay.
so,
I think
and there are
there's-
different
yeah.
people, so I thought we should open and close each one.
That seems right.
Okay, but this isn't my area of expertise, so I appreciate your help.
No, I think you're right, Karen. So we should vote and then close.
Close the hearing, then vote?
See if there's any public comment on this first one. Then
Excellent.
close the hearing if there isn't.
Okay,
Then we can vote on this and then move to the next.
okay. Caitlin, could I ask you and ask if there are any people in the room that would like to make a public comment on this hearing for a change of manager at Fuddruckers? Oh, yes, we have one here. Caitlin, do you have any on the Zoom?
I do not have any on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Yes, come on. Would you, could you come forward and you can tell us your name and address, and we'd love to hear from you.
I have to stand up.
Oh, not if you, it's not if, I guess if you're not comfortable, but you just need to tell us who you are and your address.
That's all.
Sorry.
Scott Miller, Carnegie.
Good for you. You're gonna eat turkey like in 2 days. Come on.
Okay, exercise. I've noticed recently that there's been.
Hold on, could I ask you to, you have your mask on, so I don't even know who you are, even if I did recognize you, but could you tell us who you are and your address?
I said Scott Miller.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay. And what's your address?
There's been recent, from what I gather, kind of like drag racing in the parking lot up in Jordan's. I've heard a lot of, and I've seen the lights go off earlier. And I just have some concerns about additional alcoholic beverages being served on the premises, when in fact there are establishments within the entire site that serve alcoholic beverages. My lady here said that the quote, police have done all their checks. I would like to know what the process is in terms of public safety and what quote unquote checks there are. Are there standard operating procedures? I would like more details.
Okay. And Mr. Miller, do you live adjacent to the property? Is that why you're aware of this? Where do you live?
I live in Carnation Circle.
Carnation Circle, gotcha. Okay, and did you say what time?
I just want to make sure that things aren't rubber stamped here.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming that there's a procedure by which you have a checklist, so to speak, where you go over certain safety procedures, public safety.
Yeah, I don't know if you have access to our packet as well. The packet is 140 pages today, and that is because these kind of changes are quite, there's a lot of volume of documents. Are you able to access our packets?
The packet.
Yep.
What, well, I guess I could if I had a means.
Okay, so I'm just clarifying that you haven't had a chance to look at the packet, so you don't know what the applicant has submitted, for example. Okay.
Could you summarize the packet?
I could, let's see, what page is it on? 12, let's see. Or, Bob, would you prefer, as town manager, to sort of summarize for the resident, the standard process that we go through? And then I'll tell you, I'm looking up the documents that are in the packet.
Sure. The state and specifically the ABCC prescribes a standard review of all requests like this. This is really a paperwork request, if you will, as is the next one. And again, the state dictates what we may and may not look at, or at least what we may look at. If there's been any reports in a given property that concerns the police, they certainly would have noted that. I have not heard of this situation. That doesn't mean the police don't know, but presumably because they didn't mention it, it doesn't interfere with this application per se. It might be more on the landlord.
Thank you. So, in the packet, we have statements from the restaurant, or statements from the petitioner's attorney stating what they'd like to do. That's followed by the query request form that Mrs. Haley has filled out and submitted. And also, her employment history going back to, looks like 1996. And also a statement required on behalf of the restaurant company. A corporate vote from Fuddruckers that this is what they'd like to do. Also, the form from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. And let's see what else. Change of manager, yeah, and a note of all of these things that are included. So it's a change of manager application, the query authorization, the vote of the entity, proof of citizenship, so hence now she's a citizen. Also payment for all of this that was done. Let's see what else is in there. Okay, receipt in there. Let's see.
Probably particularly of interest to you is the letter from the police department.
I didn't get to that yet.
Page 28.
Thank you. Oh, God. So that went from like 11 to 28. Yes. Okay. Yes. From Chief Deputy Chief Clark as directed, directed by your office in accordance with the Reading Police Department policy and procedures, I have placed together an executive summary of the application for the change of manager at Fuddruckers Restaurant. He lists the new manager and says, I find no reason why the change of manager application should not go forward, respectfully submitted, Lieutenant Detective Richard P. Abbey, Criminal Division Commander. So, all of this as well, so this is prepared for every time one of these comes before us. And in speaking, usually Mark also asks the restaurant person to please just confirm that you take alcohol seriously and the control, and your attorney did that as well. So I don't want you to think by any means that this is a rubber stamp. It's a pretty robust process, and that is why the packet gets really big when these come before us. But it does sound perhaps that nobody has raised this issue, certainly not with the chief or anybody working under him.
Well, that's not necessarily true, that someone may have, like Bob said, that the police department may very well be aware of this.
Okay.
But it hasn't, the police department hasn't discerned that is necessary to bring to our attention in our consideration of this application.
I can add that the police, I just heard from the chief, this is must-see TV for a lot of people. The department's absolutely aware of this situation. Groups are meeting up there, but they were meeting up there after hours when the place was closed, the whole building was closed, and it has nothing directly to do with Fuddruckers. They have asked on a couple of occasions people to move along when they found them up there. So it was people coming to meet there, not coming outside the building to meet.
But I hadn't heard of this, so I do appreciate you coming forward and bringing it to our attention, because we don't hear everything that goes along in the town. And could certainly, if I were you and I saw this happening, I'd be on the phone to the chief or whoever picks up the phone myself. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Miller, the town and the board get a review of every alcohol license every year also. And part of that, town staff go out and they do speak with all the license holders, and certainly the police are involved in that activity also. So if and when there are issues, they are discussed before it comes before the board. Sometimes the board will have questions and comments as well. So your question of, is there a process? Yes. Is there an annual review? Yes. So, as this issue comes up, and we got the answer here, but there is a review process each year as well.
Any empirical traffic study?
Related to the alcohol license?
Or related to, this is a major change in the facility, so I would assume that there would have been a traffic study. There's a lot of traffic in that area, and I know if I were an applicant, I was a regulator, I would require a traffic study. So I was just wondering if you've actually looked at this holistically and not just focused in on the alcohol license.
So this part of what we're discussing is about the alcohol license.
Right.
And this is an existing license. It's just a change of manager in terms of what's going on. So it's not, I think a traffic study or seeing kind of what volume is going is not so much related to the alcohol license as it may be other issues.
So am I to understand that this is really a change on the surface, that the actual gallons of alcohol will not be changed from what was to what's being proposed?
I'm not sure I'm following the question exactly. So there was an existing alcohol license. There is an existing alcohol license. The only thing changing is the manager who is responsible at the restaurant.
So there was zero change in the alcohol throughput or the operations, is that correct?
They actually shut down, they indicated, for a period of time. So actually it would have gone down then.
Finding going forward.
It's no request for certainly no expansion of the existing license. This isn't the proper place to ask for a change of
Right.
anything. If they wanted to, that would be a different process. This is an existing license and change of manager. And again, we want to make sure that we've not received complaints or the police had concerns, and so that's the process that the staff goes through.
So from a legal standpoint, this is, what you're saying is this is status quo. Really, the only thing that's changing is the face of management. Would that be correct?
The only thing that's changing is on the liquor license itself that the state gives out, it will have Haley's name instead of the previous manager. So if anything were to happen, it would fall under Haley's responsibility instead of the person who was there previously. That's it. They're not adding anything to their license, nothing else is changing.
So if all the
It's
process,
just who's gonna be responsible if something were to happen. It's gonna all fall on Haley now.
yep, and between now and the next renewal process, if Ms. Haley isn't able to live up to what she needs to do and we start having problems, then this would be a different conversation. Because annually they're reviewed. Did you, oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, Mr. Miller, I've been reviewing the police log comes in the newspaper every single day, and I would say probably the most policed area in all of Reading is up on Walkersburg Drive. They're up there, as you know, how you mentioned that that they were up there. It seems to be 3 times a night. Just on random things, there was some incident with animals and stuff that happened up there, etc. But I do know that they're actively up there, so it's not like it's just being completely ignored. So I think if anything was to happen, I mean, they're checking on it pretty regularly. And at least that's from my experience, just seeing it in there. I'm sure there's even more being done that we don't even know about. So I don't know if that's any solace to your complaint, but I'd just like to point out that they are actively involved up there, so.
And so it sounds like you haven't seen the packet where all of this is put out there, but you absolutely can either get at it online or tomorrow, Laura's on, you could go to the clerk's office and they'd be happy to make you a copy. So you could see, you know, everything that I've just mentioned. All right.
If you email me too, I'm happy to send you a copy. It's ann.landry@ci.reading.ma.us.
As long as you don't send me a virus.
Fair.
Okay, all right, where were we?
Another comment?
Oh, that was public comment, excellent. Okay, so if there are no further public comments, we would just need a motion to close the hearing or just close it?
We do a motion usually,
Move
right?
to close the hearing related to changing the manager for Fuddruckers.
Second. Discussion by board members. Carlo, don't want to ignore you. You're good? Okay, you're muted. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Carlo. On this vote for change of manager for Fuddruckers, how do you vote?
I think you're voting to close the hearing, right?
Oh, okay, sorry. Let's vote to close the hearing. Carlo?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
Okay, great. The hearing is closed. So, excuse me? Good? All right. All right.
Mark, do you have a motion for the?
Yeah, if there's no other discussion, then move to approve the change of manager application for an annual all alcohol restaurant license for HJB Restaurant Company LLC, DBA Fuddruckers at 50 Walkersburg Drive, Reading, Massachusetts.
Second. Any discussion, board members? None appearing? Okay, now we will vote on this change of manager for Fuddruckers. Carlo?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Very good, congratulations.
Thank you very
Wish
much.
you the best going forward.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, so you probably have another hearing notice.
So I read all the hearing notices.
Oh, you read them all
So we're
together, okay, so, okay. So, again, so Caitlin, the staff.
Yes, this is for,
Thank you so much.
Welcome, this is for
Thank you.
liquor junction, pledge of license, yep.
yeah, so, they're simply changing banks, so they have to pledge their inventory, and this just, the ABCC requires paperwork on this so that they're informed.
Very good. Okay, don't believe there's anyone here. Is there any public comment? None appearing. Board members, do you have any comment on this?
No, it seems pretty straightforward.
It does. Okay. This is agreement.
You want a motion to close the hearing?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Motion to close the hearing with respect to the pledge of license inventory application for Liquor Junction.
Second. Great. Any discussion by board members? None appearing. Okay, we can do a roll call vote. Just get back to that agenda. Okay. All right. Roll call to vote on the Liquor Junction Pledge of License. Carlo?
On closing the hearing.
Sorry. It's been a long day.
Sorry, it's been a long day.
Okay, we're gonna vote to close the hearing. Carlo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Karen, yes, very good. Okay, now we can have a motion to,
Move to approve the pledge of license / inventory application for an annual package store liquor license for Kajal and Kevin LLC, DBA Liquor Junction at 1 General Way, Reading, Mass.
did you want a second? Thank you, Anne. Okay, any discussion, board members? Okay, none appearing. Okay, now, okay, we're still on Liquor Junction, okay. And we close the hearing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry, okay. Okay, Carlo, I'll start with you. How would you vote, voting on Liquor Junction Pledge of License?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Thank you. Okay, we have one final hearing. Oh, we already read it, okay. Discussion on vote to amend the FY22 classification plan to add the mental health discussion. Is there any public? Oh, good. Okay, Bob, would you like to speak on this, or?
Certainly, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can all see the classification plan.
Yeah.
The main purpose of this hearing is right here under grade H, adding the public safety clinician. And while we're at it, we cleaned up some things that are vacant positions not used. Of note is the animal control officer. You just agreed to an intermunicipal agreement, so we don't have an employee anymore. We share services with Wakefield. So we're cleaning up 4 vacant positions that will not be used in the budget next year. But the main point is to add H, public safety clinician. And if the board does approve this, we'll be able to advertise the position and get the process going.
Great. Board members, any discussion? Okay. Yeah, go.
Other than, I think it's for town meeting to have approved this previously and whatnot, I think it's a really big step for Reading to really get ahead of what is ultimately coming. So I'm really happy that this is coming to Reading and hopefully we can get something started sooner rather than later.
So,
Bob? So I understand that the position would fall within public safety. Is there a reason we're calling it a public safety clinician versus a mental health clinician?
Well, especially Erica from the coalition did a lot of research. One of the possible names they thought of was coalition clinician, but that was a little bit clumsy sounding.
Yeah.
So public safety clinician is better. They believe that clinician was a much more descriptive term on what that job would do than, mental health is a little bit slightly narrower and not always a good label, I guess I'll say. So they felt that the clinician job title was much more effective. And public safety also broadens it to imply and kind of associate with our public health department.
We are envisioning the clinician would be serving behavioral health needs in the community. Is that?
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
That's what the job description is
Okay.
aimed at.
Okay. Great, thank you.
excellent. Yeah, Mark?
How is the reporting structure for that? Who will this person report into? Does it come in through Erica or does it come in through public safety directly?
Erica.
It comes in through Erica. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like a motion?
I would love a motion.
Move to amend the FY22 classification plan to remove vacant positions and add the public safety clinician position as presented.
Second. Board members, any discussion? Carlo?
No.
No? Okay, so we're gonna close the hearing.
Actually, so I did that in backward order, didn't I? So we should see if there's any public comment, then we'll close the hearing. and
Okay,
then-
Caitlin, just checking, is there anyone on the Zoom? There's, Mr. Holmes is with us, but nobody else is here.
You're always
Well,
welcome to
that's
make,
right, you're
to
always welcome.
comment, Bob.
Okay, so no public comment at this time.
So move to close the public hearing with regard to amending the FY22 classification plan.
Second, any discussion? Carlo, vote.
No.
Okay, can I have your vote to close the hearing on the classification amendment?
Oh, yes.
Amending the classification, thank you, yes, Anne?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark? Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes, great.
Okay, now I'll go back to the other motion.
Okay, great.
Move to amend the FY22 classification plan to remove vacant positions and add the public safety clinician position as presented.
Second, excellent. Any discussion? Okay, we can move to the vote. Carlo?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Wonderful, thank you, Bob.
Bob.
Okay,
I'm just gonna close this window a little bit so we don't.
yeah, it's a little chilly. Keeping the airflow good though. Little happy faces on there. Okay. Okay, is Laura next? Did we get rid of it? Bottom of the first page.
Energy reduction plan.
Oh, MAPC, okay. Hi, Julie. Okay, next, discuss the energy reduction plan.
So we have Meg Akey from MAPC, Julie Mercier, our Community Development Director, and our Facilities Director, Joe Huggins, is also present. Julie, would you like me to do the presentation, or do you want to do that?
If you'll allow me to screen share, I think if that might be.
Okay, go ahead.
Welcome, Megan, welcome, Joe, thanks for coming.
And welcome, Julie.
And Julie, yes, I think I did say hello, but I had my mask on, so.
Do you see the presentation?
Yes,
Correct, do you?
we do.
Yes.
Okay. So Meg and I are here tonight to talk about the energy reduction plan, which is criteria 3 of the Green Communities Program. Hold on a second, my screen is not forwarding. To advance. Maybe it would be good if you could.
Okay, I'll do it if you close it out.
It won't advance. Sorry for that.
No, maybe mine won't either, this one. Can everyone see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
So,
Okay, Julie.
thank you, Bob, I appreciate that. So it's criteria 3. As you might know, it's the one criteria out of 5 that we haven't achieved yet. So we're working furiously to try to get this done by the end of the year. Next slide, please. So the energy reduction plan includes an energy use baseline, which we have established using FY21 data. And then the energy reduction plan, which is a plan across 5 years out to FY26 that would get us to a 20% reduction in energy use over our energy use baseline. Next slide, please. So to demonstrate compliance with criteria 3, we need to establish our energy use baseline like we did. It includes municipal buildings and facilities, schools, water, wastewater treatment plants, pumping stations, RMLD buildings, streets and traffic lighting, vehicles. So it's, essentially kilowatt hours, it's fuel usage, it's natural gas, all those things for all town-owned facilities, vehicles, and streetlights. And then we need to adopt the energy reduction plan. Like I mentioned, it demonstrates 20% reduction over 5 years. And that's required to be adopted by both the select board and the school committee. Okay, thank you, Bob. So here's just a visual of the different components in terms of our inventory. So town, school, and RMLD buildings, town, school, and RMLD vehicles, water and sewer facilities, street and traffic lights, and then parks and open spaces. And with regards to parks and open spaces, it's any electricity needed for irrigation systems, any fuel used to heat out buildings, and electricity for lighting and things like that. Okay, next slide, please. So there are three main ingredients that go into the energy reduction plan. And these are the circles on your screen. So MEI stands for Mass Energy Insight, and that's the data portal that we used to input all of our baseline data, which we collected from, all the different departments, the RMLD, DPW, facilities, for all those other components I mentioned earlier. And then there's the energy audit, which we had done or redone earlier this year by Noresco for our town facilities. And that just looks at how our buildings are performing and what the opportunities are for making improvements. And then obviously the municipal context. So making sure that these things align with the local processes, including plans for future building replacements, renovations, and capital improvements. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the recipe. We established the lay of the land by looking to understand the audits and what's in them, and then taking those opportunities and aligning them with local processes, and looking at any factors that might impact project feasibility and timing over the 5-year horizon. And then we take those opportunities and that timing and try to match it with funding sources. Next slide, please. The important thing in the plan is to create a balance. So there's hard measures and soft measures. We need to have at least 15% of hard measures, and then the last 5% can be the soft measures. And we need to have kind of a balance year over year between those types of measures. And the soft measures are behavioral measures, and creating a strategy to include behavioral measures and how to measure their impact is an important component. Next slide, please. So this is the elements of the 5-year strategy. So we established goals for the first 1 to 3 years, and then goals for the last 4 to 5 years. Like I mentioned, each year can include a combination of hard and soft measures. And again, hard measures are technology changes, retrofits, updates, a lot of the things identified in the investment grade audit. And then soft measures are the behavioral changes, education and training on systems, optimizing performance, things like that. So this is the roadmap, basically, to get us to 20% reduction over 5 years. Next slide, please. So here's just like a little bit of what I was just saying. So some examples of hard measures and some examples of soft measures. And ICE stands for internal combustion engine, if that jumps out at you as something you're not sure about. So just moving along, I don't think I need to read this list. Come back to it if needed. Next slide, please. Okay, and so then in terms of like if and when we become designated, I should say when we become designated the green community, we'll need to have a green community support team to kind of work on implementation, and that team typically comprises a lead contact person, Mass Energy Insight Management lead, and a project implementation lead. And while the responsibilities for green communities can lie with one person, it might be more feasible or practicable if there were multiple people across departments because of the different areas of expertise that are involved in implementation. Next slide, please. And then here's just a list of the responsibilities. So when we become designated, we basically, someone needs to update and maintain the energy usage data in Mass Energy Insight, and kind of track whether we're hitting our targets and where we might be not meeting our targets, and look for reasons why and try to sort of investigate that. And then updating the vehicle inventory, documenting new purchases and vehicle retirements, completing and submitting an annual report to the Department of Energy Resources. That's really important. And then additional responsibilities include, things related to implementation. So identifying and selecting energy saving projects, pursuing grant funding to get the projects done, if needed, in addition to the performance contract. And then that's again, design competitive grant funds and a progress report to the DOER, and then making sure that the Green Communities Core team is carrying out the best practices through periodic meetings, and looking to identify projects, funding, and other needs. And then, of course, annual updates to the select board. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. So our approval timeline, we are getting down to the wire. So we have our first meeting with you tonight. We're hoping to come back to you on December 7th for a vote when the plan is a little bit more finalized. And then we have 2 meetings hopefully scheduled with the school committee in December so that we can apply for designation by December 30th. That's the deadline. I think that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Board members, you have questions? Mark?
Couple of questions. One is the goal is the 20% is what you'll present. Will that achieve the 20% over the course of the 5 years?
Yeah, so what we're working on right now, as Julie mentioned, the 2 main pieces of the energy reduction plan are the baseline, which we're still finalizing the data for, which will give us a sense of the measures that have been identified in the NORESCO audit. How far does that get us to that 15 or 20%? Then if we find ourselves at a point where, we have between, say, 15 to 17% identified in those hard measures, DOER allows the communities to identify what Julie mentioned in terms of those softer measures, so behavioral changes, policy changes that can implement energy saving overall across the community to make up for that additional percentage. So the final plan that we bring to you in December will have those hard numbers in terms of here's exactly what the energy savings are that the town expects to see, where that gets you in terms of that 20% reduction goal, and what's currently in the draft outlines the measures that would contribute to making that progress toward the 20% goal.
Super. One other question, so fiscal 20, probably we used less energy, generally speaking, because of COVID, and now that's our baseline. Can we get any special dispensation or something with the understanding that that was kind of a COVID year? Or is that a DOER decision? Could we lobby them to give us a break?
Yeah, really good question. So that was one of the pieces of kind of, as we're thinking about which year to use as the baseline, that we're taking that into consideration in terms of how DOER is approaching that particular base year. They aren't providing any particular special dispensation, though it is a conversation that could be had. To clarify though, we are hoping to use the FY21 as the baseline, so hopefully that will kind of surpass some of those inconsistencies in terms of energy use trends. But we are looking at three years of data to get a sense of what the best baseline year will be to choose. FY21 is probably the most preferable one to use because it gives you the longest time period from that point to get to that 20% reduction goal.
Got it. Although FY21, sorry, I was thinking 21. FY21 ended in June 30th of 21, right?
Yes.
So second half of 20, first half. Yeah, so it actually is.
Under 21.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe if you folks think it's worth lobbying DOER. I don't want to be at kind of an artificial low that we have to find 20% savings from. And 21 might have been less. Bob seems to have a comment.
Bob?
Yeah, Mark, I shared your concern early on, and it's kind of a juggling act. Because if you pick older data, you get less time to make the changes.
Got it.
So you have to kind of walk that fine line, and it's not like it's a unique thing to Reading. I mean, everybody knows what happened, so I can't imagine it's going to be a big impediment.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think just anecdotally from the other communities that we've worked with that are already green communities, we reviewed a lot of their data from this unusual year and 2 years that we've had. And in some instances, there wasn't too much of an impact because there are some measures that communities had to take to increase ventilation that actually, kind of increased energy usage. So some of those things that may have occurred in buildings balance out, but there's not really too much that we can do until we kind of take that closer look at the data to understand what that trends look like too.
Okay, thank you.
Question? No.
Thanks, Karen. So looking at the slides, are we hiring 3 new positions, or is it 1 position, or who's assuming responsibility for everything that was on that block of items that people are responsible for?
To be determined. I don't imagine hiring 3 people. And as Julie mentioned, the best approach is probably shared across many departments.
I can speak to kind of more broadly the way that we've helped communities develop the implementation component of the plan and kind of designating those roles. It's typically not 3 specific staff people that are completely dedicated to green communities, but rather kind of sharing the workload of being green community across different departments, as Bob was just mentioning. So usually kind of the division that ends up making sense is you have someone who's really taking the lead on the data, someone that's the kind of main point of contact with the community, and then on the project implementation side, usually that ends up being housed in facilities or DPW, whomever is really actively engaged in the buildings themselves. But having that kind of delineation of the roles helps with just shared knowledge of the program across different departments, so that if there are staff transitions, you have that kind of consistency over the program period too.
So you've seen other communities not have to hire someone, it's just spread out like you mentioned? Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's reassuring.
Yeah, there's a lot of communities that have been green communities that don't have a dedicated staff person. I think broader conversation around, sustainability and other initiatives that the town might pursue can certainly be helpful to have a staff person to take things above and beyond what the program expectations are for green communities itself.
Okay, thanks.
Megan, could I ask, or maybe Julie, so I thought the application process was changed to a rolling basis. I was just curious to see the end of year deadline. Is that a recent change?
Yeah, so it is a rolling basis. I think it opened sometime in July, so it's rolling for about 6 months each year from
Okay.
whenever it opened up through to that December timeframe. So we're running up on the very end of that rolling period.
No, I know a lot of hard work has gone into this.
Yes, thank you so much.
And thank you. One of my questions was, what would that green communities core team look like? So thank you, Julie, for outlining that. Question. I was wondering, I saw on one of the things you could do, building operator certification. Is that like a hat that Joe would wear, or? Do you have, what is that?
Yeah, so that is a nationally recognized program that's essentially a professional development certification program for folks who work directly in building performance, building management, and is something that would be on that more behavioral soft measure side of things. So there are some studies that have shown staff who undergo that training, whether it's facilities director or folks who are working within the facilities, getting that knowledge about how to operate some of these high-performing, high-efficiency systems can increase the potential savings that you get from those buildings as you're implementing more of these energy savings measures. So one of the things that we can include in the plan is approximate savings that you might see from doing some of those softer measures like the training.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes,
One more
Mark?
question. So
Yep.
Megan, on that same point, will you be outlining some of the savings that we'll be receiving as a result of this? In other words, a 20% reduction corresponds to so many dollars, if you will. So in other words, there are good reasons for doing this aside from
Exactly.
there's climate and there's money, both.
Yeah, so those are two of the big pieces that go into one of the main data tables that will be in the final plan, and a lot of that information is data that we've already got from Noresco from their audit that looks at the energy savings, but then additionally we can make some estimations in terms of some of the other savings that MAPC will do calculations on, like that building operator certification training. We can approximate, if X number of kilowatt hours are saved, here's the rough number of operational dollars that would be saved from that as well.
Great.
Super.
That'll be
Thank you.
helpful. When we first started this is for Megan, I think, unless Julie know the answer. When we first started talking about this a year or so ago, it looked like the initial grant that Reading could be approved for upon being accepted would be about $160,000. Was that on a per capita basis, or has that changed, or?
That's a good question. Julie probably has the exact number, but the formula that DOER uses is per capita formula to determine that initial amount. And then, so once you get your designation grant, on an annual basis, you'll be eligible for the competitive grant funding, and that's a set amount for all green communities.
So would we be using new census data, which is higher?
That is a good question that I actually don't know the answer to. Julie, I don't know if you've talked with Neil about that, but we can certainly follow up with Neil to get updated numbers for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Interesting point.
We want to use the biggest number possible. Okay. All right. Any further questions from board members?
No, just thank you for all the work that you've all done on this. Much appreciated.
This is awesome.
I concur. Very exciting. Okay. Let's go back to the agenda. Let's see.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
folks.
Thank you for joining us. Have a happy holiday, everybody. Who
Yeah, you as well.
Thank
Thanks so much.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Energy reduction plan. Okay, I'm looking at. What am I looking at? Recent draft. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, Laura, are we ready for you?
Sure.
Are we ready? There it is. I have too many things open. Okay.
Okay, so as you know, that we've already gone through the process of setting our districts, our re-precincts. But it created two, so 6A, 6B, 7A, and 7B because of the House representative districts. So what we have done is gone back and taken a look at how we could rearrange, and there's a map hanging up in the select board room, and there was one also in your packet that shows the 20th Middlesex and the 30th Middlesex. And we were able to change the precincts a little, affecting precincts 4, 5, 6, and 7 to be able to readjust so that we could end up with just a 6 and a 7 precinct versus 6A and 7A. Kim came out of retirement to help out with this.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
She's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was in retirement for less than a week,
5
actually.
minutes. Yes, thank you, Kim. That's pretty awesome.
So we were able to readjust the precincts. And I just want to mention that the map I first presented, we had talked a little bit about making some adjustments for growth. The idea is that the target population is 3190 for every precinct. Every precinct has to be under 4,000 in population. Every precinct has to be within plus or minus of that 3190. And the first map that we presented, Kim and I had made some changes to it to account for some of the growth, and that was not exact science. That was working with trying to some of what's planned in the near future to try and keep everything balanced over the 10 years. But it was not a requirement, and some of it was just basically trying to look at some of what's planned in the future. With this, we did not work with any of the planning of the future. We just worked with the numbers that we had. We're staying within the requirements of the plus minus 5% to the 3190, and we're going to stay under that 4,000 target for the next 10 years. There's definitely, when the next time we do this in 2032, we'll definitely be adding a 9th precinct, so we need to plan for that in the future to make sure that we can legally do that. But at this point, we're going to remain at the 8 precincts, and we're going to stay within that plus minus 5% and stay under 4,000 for over the next 10 years. That's the plan. And we will not have any split precincts. Next slide. So this just shows the population as presented, that this is what each one of the precincts are going to be, the variance as presented, the population that was approved. This shows you the numbers that we have already had approved by the Local Election District Review Commission. And so it just shows you some of the balance some of the changes that we had to make to get to where we can stay within the districts and not have split precincts. Next slide, Bob. Any questions? Any comments?
And, so first of all, Laura, thank you so much for revisiting the maps, and to Kim for coming back from retirement or, in order to do this work. I know when we first approved the maps, I asked if I had your assurance that if we ended up with precincts that did not match, the legislative districts, if we could revisit. And, you assured me and by gosh, you went and you, I think created a bit of a miracle in very short time, and I really, really appreciate that. I think this is going to be a huge service to both the voters and the poll workers to not have to administer elections with split precincts. I was curious around the thinking of in the last go round looking at new growth. So why did you look at it then but choose not to? And I don't know if I'll rather than try to guess, I'll let you speak. Why not look at the new growth this time around, whereas you did the last time around?
Well, the idea is to try and keep the precincts as balanced as possible, for the one vote, one person, one vote concept,
Right.
but also for the concept of making sure that the precincts on election day don't end up with lines in one precinct and another one not so much. Looking at the growth, it just helps us keep it balanced over the next 10 years. This time, we try the numbers, the growth numbers that are coming for the near future is not enough to be able to take into consideration, just from the simple fact, which one's more important? Making sure that we keep the precincts exactly balanced, or making sure that we don't have split precincts and sub-precincts. The number that we chose this time to look at the numbers to keep us balanced as to what we have today, and to be able to get rid of the sub-precincts and not end up with a ninth this time. Because if we tried to add a ninth precinct now to keep everything and to include the growth, it would create a lot of problems because of the charter. So by doing this, over the next 10 years, we can change the charter to prepare for adding that ninth precinct.
Okay. Bob?
Yeah, just to add, let me share a map.
I hope that answered your question, Ann.
It did, thank you.
The larger precincts, with the work Laura has done are 1, 2, 3, 4. And broadly speaking, unless there's a zoning change down in Walkersbrook, those will be the least impacted by new developments, new residential developments. So even though the numbers may not have been used, it looks like, especially 5, 6, 7 have capacity to have that growth and, not only stay within the 4,000, but honestly stay within the sizes of the other precincts by and large. So you can see from this map what changed.
This is what changed from the 2012 to the 2022. And one of the things that I forgot to include in the packet, and I can share my screen and put it on if you would like, is what the changes are between the first approval to today. But this shows the population from 2012 to 2022. Would you like to see the?
Sure. If you have it readily available.
I do, yep. Okay, can you see? So this shows you, I'm at wrong map, sorry. I think I have it, there we go, this is it. Okay, this shows you what was the precincts compared with the previously approved boundaries. And the colored is what the precincts are today. And then the black line shows you what was previously approved. So you can see that we had to make some adjustments between precinct 6, 7, 5, and 4. You can see where the adjustments are. Just kind of basically moving around some of the dense areas of population. Any questions?
Yeah, I guess my next question would be, luckily precinct 8 where I'm from isn't changing, so I don't have to worry about it, but I was wondering what the plan is for getting the word out to the community, that they need to check their precinct at some point. I'm not sure when this becomes official or when, that process might start. In the new year?
So this becomes official on January 1st, 2022. The way the process will go is that once, the next step is it has to go back before the election commission. And I was on the phone with them today. It's going to be a pretty quick process. Because I worked with the state to set up these precincts, so it's just going to be a matter of them taking a look and making sure we dotted our I's and crossed our T's. Then once that's approved, at that point, the state needs to take the data and take a look at every address, what precinct it's in now, and what precinct it's in gonna move to. Then at that point, I need to compare the data and make sure we have that accurate. Then at that point, once I approve that, it'll get put into the state system. Once that happens, any registered voter or resident of Reading that has moved from one precinct to another will receive a postcard from me.
Okay.
We'll make it well known that once that's happening in the paper. So that everybody knows at that point that nomination papers will be available for town meeting April election.
Very good. Question? Chris?
Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Laura. So, for the charter change, that would have to be what, up to 9, I think is the way that it gets changed?
Well, currently the charter states that there's specifically 8 precincts. We're due for a charter commission to be created, or a charter committee to be created to go through the charter. It should be done every 10 years, and we're about due. I'm pretty sure next year, 2022, is that correct, Bob?
It's within the next 2.5 years. It's up
Yeah.
to the moderator to start that process, and he knows.
Yeah, so with that said, my recommendation would be to word it in such a way that it doesn't have a specific number of precincts.
Right.
So that going forward, we don't have to worry about it changing. But that's the first step to being able to add a precinct.
And so looking at the numbers, it looked like we increased 750 people from 2010 to 2020. So how come we'd end up having to have another precinct if the same scale goes up again where we get 750 or 1,000 people? It's still if you split it out, well under 4,000.
Well, what's going to happen in the next 10 years, we're not too sure of. There's a lot of growth that's happening. And if you take a look at one of the things that I'm responsible for doing is sending out the census every year in January. So every January, you receive a census from us. If you take a look at the numbers that I have compared to the numbers that the federal 2020 census came up with, we're off by about 1,000. I have just over 1,000 more registered voters than what they say that we have. Part of that, I believe, is from COVID. Some of the restrictions that they had in collecting those numbers. 10 years ago when this happened, we were pretty on top.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry?
I just said, wow.
Dismay. That was the sound of dismay.
So, whether or not it's true that it's off, because I've taken a look at my numbers and we're pretty good, pretty close. But being, that if that is the case, in 10 years when they do the federal census again, they're going to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to add additional numbers to it.
So yeah, 2,000 would definitely skew this massively. So if it's already $1,000 now, then I can see.
Pretty close.
I was thinking of other things. So we talked about the green communities. It's on a per capita basis. ARPA funds, we're on a per capita basis. So I'm like, so that's 1,000 we could potentially lose.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yep.
So Reading is not the only community in which this is happening.
Right.
So, you know, it's happening. I believe the population, my numbers are closer, but that could be just my ego.
Yep.
Doubtful.
You can go door to door and verify.
Oh, jeez.
So Laura, the 25,518, is that your number or is that the federal
No.
census?
That's the federal number.
Oh,
Really
interesting.
like 26.5 maybe, or 26 anyway.
My number is just over 26, like 26.4 the last time I looked at it. And my number changes daily, because as registered voters come in, or as registered voters move out, it changes.
Okay. Board members, any further questions? Okay, so do we have a motion?
Yep. Give me 1 second.
Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Luckily, this only happens once every 10 years.
We'll see you
And
next
if,
week.
after you
Or
take the
in
vote,
this
if you don't
case,
mind, I'll be in with the form to have you guys sign it, so I can send it out to the state immediately.
Okay.
Great. So
got this.
move to approve the 2020 re-precincting plan for the town of Reading as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, board members. Carla?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Great, thank you again, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Karen?
yep,
Can I ask Laura a question real quick?
sure.
Can you use my stamp, Laura, or do I have to come in and sign it?
I believe the stamp will be fine.
Okay, let me know if it's not, thank you.
Yep,
Okay, so yeah, so we need to come in then.
as long as I have 3 ink signatures, we're good, and then we'll just use your stamp promo.
All
Okay.
right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Ivrea, thank you for joining us on Zoom. Okay, I'm gonna hand this over to you.
Sure, so
Okay.
lot 5. So, per the select board's request from our last discussion, we spoke with Bancroft about the ability for town staff to do an inspection. And essentially, yes, they're okay with an inspection, but there's no real recourse that we have, kind of regardless of the inspection. So we can see it, but if we find that there is an issue we don't like, there isn't really recourse that we have. That's just kind of the situation. So it's not the same as kind of saying, oh, wait a second. We're in the same situation that Bancroft is in with respect to the other lots. What's different versus the Bancroft position with the other lots is that our agreement is going to require that there aren't any restrictions beyond just the cutouts in the front and the setback.
Saw that.
We don't have any of the other restrictions that Bancroft has as it relates
Saw
to
that.
usage, as it relates to not having any issues if Bancroft wants to do other things. So that's all as it was. The only real change is what the board asked for. And I think we have it in the sense that we're allowed to do an inspection after Bancroft has the properties, then we can do that. What we're asking for tonight is that the board essentially sign off on this. It still has the inspection clause in place. Then all this will meet, if we do it tonight, it meets the requirements of the previously discussed agreements with Bancroft. Avery, did I miss anything?
Nope, that's a great summary.
Super.
So I think that, you know, unless there are other issues, I think we move forward. This is kind of where we had, and then there's another agenda item in a moment that would relate to kind of a next step, but that would be the next step.
Do you want to sign that
Mark.
first? I'll give that to Laura.
But do you want to address the timing component? I wasn't privy to the last conversation that you had with this board, so just want to make sure everyone understands when the acquisition would occur.
So basically, at the very end of the year, right before the very end of the year, and the inspection would take place after the Bancroft closing, which is somewhere around the 20th of December.
Yeah.
And then the timing is tight so that if town employees want to take a look and do the inspection, it's kind of those first couple of days after the 20th.
Right, so just to add on that, I believe that the Bancroft Meadowbrook closing is scheduled for the 16th of December. And from our office's perspective, we would prefer to close by December 23rd, even though we have until the 31st to close. So if it's possible to get town staff in before the 23rd, we can do that. If not, we have until the 31st to close.
Questions from board members? Okay, so I had a couple of questions, just kind of about the language in this particular PNS. Is the beneficial interest disclosure, Mass General Laws 7C, is that like a standard municipal type of thing?
Exactly.
Okay, and same with the eminent domain clause?
So the eminent domain clause is something that we recommend, we always include in PNSs. If there's any title issues that we find, what we may do is take the property from ourselves in the future, and that clears any title issues. The town meeting vote that authorized the acquisition of Lot 5 didn't authorize the town to take any land by eminent domain. So we would need to go to, we would need to obtain another town meeting vote to do that. Right now, we don't see any title issues, but obviously we can't predict that. So there may be some desire to take it by eminent domain in the future.
Okay, great, yeah, and then I noticed, so there's a setback in the rear, no, there's a setback along the lot line of lot 4, and there's a setback in the front, foliage, a natural type setback. But yeah, as Mark said, no other restrictions, so that's great. That's it. Good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
We ready for a motion?
You good, Carlo? You ready for a motion?
Yes, thanks, yes.
All right, yes.
Move to 1, approve the purchase and sale agreement between Bancroft Estates LLC and the town of Reading for Lot 5 of the Meadowbrook property as presented. And 2, authorize town council to close on property in accordance with the terms and conditions of the purchase and sale agreement and execute and record any documents related thereto, including a settlement statement and a deed.
Second. Any discussion by board members? None appearing. Are we ready for a vote? Carlo?
Yes.
Anne? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, Bob?
Thank you, everyone.
If I could just add, Karen, you have a folder in front of you
Yep.
for signatures for the board. Ivrea needs to get these back first thing in the morning. So if the board members present could sign it, that I can work with Ivrea as to whether Carlo's stamped signature is necessary or not.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the signatures need to be notarized. So unless Carlo comes in, it's not required. We just need a quorum of the board to have signed it.
Okay, thank you.
So there's not a notary here, so you want me to sign in anyway or not? How's that work?
Yeah, there's a notary watching you right
Oh,
now.
is that?
I'll notarize it in the morning.
Okay, and she's watching us anyway. All right, sounds good.
Watching.
All right.
Caitlin is always watching.
Watch carefully, here we go.
By the owl. Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I will see you
Thank you
maybe
so
in the
much.
new year, if not sooner.
Very good.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Ivrea.
Thanksgiving.
Have a good one, everyone.
Can I go on to the next?
Yeah.
Next related topic? Okay, so it has been suggested by members of conservation and others that by far the best access to the town forest would be kind of the back of Lot 5 and then going over some areas that are owned by Meadowbrook. And in fact, there is an existing pathway there now. But it is land that's owned by Meadowbrook. During our negotiations, we mentioned to Meadowbrook, we asked if they would be amenable to a discussion about it, and they said they'd be amenable to a discussion, but no commitments or promises or anything else. So I think it would be good for the board and town to figure out how we want to approach this. I've already received comments from a number of residents with their thoughts on how to do this and asking for contact information and things like that, which I don't think, in fact, it's not that I don't think it's a good idea, it's not a good idea. And so I thought what would make sense would be to kind of, first of all, indicate our interest in starting that discussion. And then maybe what we do is, and I mentioned to Bob, think about what might be the best way to speak with them, the town speak with them. The board's involved. I think conservation should definitely be involved in what's going on. I know that Annika Scanlon in particular had a lot of thoughts on this, but I've received comments from a number of people with their suggestions on how to approach it. I just think that it's in our interest to start the discussion and to kind of have a person or persons take responsibility to do that. Bob, I don't know if you had any comments beyond that.
No, Mark, other than trying to figure out the timing, it clearly shouldn't happen until all the paperwork in December is done.
Right.
So maybe January.
Yep, that sounds exactly right. So I thought, I wanted it to be on the agenda so the board could discuss, what are we thinking would make sense to do that? And as Bob said, start the discussion come January.
Chris, Carlo, or Ann, you have any comments?
I guess my only thing with that is, so we're looking to see about getting an easement back there, but is that on the notion that the parking lot would exist? Or if the parking lot hypothetically could not be done at all for whatever reason, would that still mean that we want the easement? Like, is there still a use to it? Or?
I think so. I think there would be either way.
Yeah, I think that would be the preferred access for residents. And right now, either you go around or you find your own way, or a number of people use that path, and it just is, but we don't actually have permission.
So currently it's illegal, what's happening. This would just be the legal way of doing it, plus then something with Lot 5 might be done.
I might suggest it's informal rather than illegal.
Yeah, I mean, people have been doing it for 20 years, informal's a better way to think about it.
It's not an area that is near the greens or anything else, but it's not our property.
Yeah.
And so the thought was, and we had this discussion.
Neighborhood cut through.
No, we had this discussion, and I think everyone understands that some people go in that way, and it would be a preferred way to go in. So I think it would be good to have the discussion and see if they would be willing to work with us on that.
Okay.
And they've been really, the discussions are all good. I think they've been good neighbors. I would imagine that we can have a fruitful discussion about it.
Okay.
To be, Mark, would you be interested in continuing to be the board's designee in terms of negotiations and conversations with Meadowbrook? It seems like you've served us well so far. I don't know if you are wearying of the many tasks the board has designated to you, but is this a process that you'd be interested in leading on behalf of the board?
Yeah, I think I could do that. I think part of it though is thinking about kind of how does the town get involved, and how does the conservation get involved also? I think that they need a seat in the discussion. I think they know best what makes sense and things like that, and I think it'll make for a better discussion with Meadowbrook based on that.
Maybe
And
this
better for the
becomes
town.
more of a point person, and maybe conservation comes to us and says, here's what we,
So maybe you could perhaps go to the Conservation Commission on behalf of the board and seek their input. And then informed by that input, like work with Ivrea on how to approach Meadowbrook.
Sounds spot on.
Carlo, did you have a, yep?
Yeah, thank you. Has anyone, I know comments have come up before, and that has anyone mentioned or asked if we make this official, if Meadowbrook grants us the easement, that we have to comply with any ADA requirements, or access to all, from Grove Street all the way to the forest? Or right now where it's informal, it's not official? If it becomes official, what does that trigger?
So no, there haven't been any discussions regarding that at all.
But I will tell you, our trails in town, like, they're not ADA compliant, but I'm not an expert in this area, but it's a good question.
Yeah, and I think
And I
that.
think it'll come up.
Yeah, I think as it relates to facilities on Lot 5, it may come up. Where there's potentially some construction going on. I'm not familiar whether if there's no construction, if that would get triggered or not. But we have to understand.
Yeah, the pulling of permits is my concern. If we stop pulling permits, then what does that trigger?
Well, an easement doesn't have to involve development, and it might not. There's a footpath, but we don't have permission to have a footpath. But an easement could be as simple as a mutually reciprocal agreement that says Meadowbrook's not in trouble if somebody falls or does something, and people, it would give us explicit permission, but I would not necessarily expect it to give us permission to build anything on there. It's just kind of like, yes, you may cross the property.
Yeah.
I'm certain it wouldn't relate to
Yeah.
building, and
No,
it would just be,
I mean, not,
Ability
and
to
it probably
access.
wouldn't be needed, like, it would start on town land.
but I think this has to be part of the discussion with Ivrea as it relates both to potential of an easement and also development, wrong word,
Yep.
activity on Lot 5.
Yep, it probably says we're not responsible for anything, things like that, much like some of the language in this purchase and sale. Caveats for both sides.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, good question. So I'm fully in support of continuing this. When it's appropriate, I'm really excited that we have a legal agreement in place with Bancroft and Meadowbrook. That's awesome. That's a great accomplishment, and so let's get to closing.
The other part of this, as it relates both to what we just signed and if there's gonna be a path or whatever, is, Karen, I think you reached out to Brad Jones.
Mhm.
And, help me, he's put some money into the budget potentially, or taken some potential ARPA funds, and is applying that we might be able to use some of them.
I think we talked about this as our last meeting, and it could be, I don't know where the source of the funds is, but Brad Jones did make me aware that he has put in, I think it was $150,000 to assist with the acquisition or development of this lot 5. And that-
Okay, so not the easement. So-
And it's tied into a much bigger bill, and
Yeah, it's in conference committee. Okay, the legislature did not get it done before they broke for.
And Senator
Yeah.
Lewis
Rest of
is
the
aware of it,
year.
and I believe I talked to, our other legislator from Woburn.
Rich,
Rich, thank you. So
Representative
I
Haggerty,
believe
yeah.
they're all three are aware of it, and that's wonderful.
it's 2022, is what it sounds like.
I think so, yes, yep.
Okay.
Which if we're not closing till December, that's
It
perfect.
is possible that it's possible that a conference committee report could emerge this session. They would have to approve it in informal sessions, which will happen throughout the rest of the calendar year. So the risk is that any one legislator can stand up and object and it doesn't move forward. Of course, the ARPA legislation has a lot of things that a lot of people want, so.
Yeah.
So it's very much TBD.
Cool. Okay,
Yes,
so.
that's very exciting.
Okay, so I will reach out to Ivrea and then to Conservation but this won't take place till after the closing. And obviously involved with Conservation and whoever else needs to be involved in the discussion. I know Chuck should be as well, obviously.
All right, so I'm just going to formalize it. I'm going to move that the board designate Mark Doxer to work with the Conservation Commission, town council, and appropriate staff to develop a plan for approaching Meadowbrook with respect to an easement over a portion of their property.
The friendly amendment, should
Yes.
we include Meadowbrook in that? To work with Meadowbrook as well, or not yet?
And how about and then at the end of what I said, and Meadowbrook in the new year, because I think you could have the conversations on this side now if you have time, but then with respect to Meadowbrook, we'd want to wait until everything is closed with the purchase and sale, so and acquisition, so which we're thinking is effectively the new will bring us to the new year. So
Second.
Very good. Any questions or discussion by board members? Okay, we ready for a vote? Carlo?
Yes.
Anne?
yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Karen, yes, 5-0. Great, okay, we're cranking. Let's see, what time is it? Okay. Okay, we are at 9:20. Okay, well, and I see David Zeke is here for one of the items on the consent agenda. Excellent, so we're like 10 minutes behind, very excited about that. So, are there any questions by any board members regarding the deed for the SL Homes LLC or any of the other items on the consent agenda? Mark?
Yeah, wondering, Bob, if you could kind of walk us through a little bit of what's going on here, obviously, it's a land issue, we have to vote on it, but could you walk us through what's going on here, please?
Sure. Can everyone see the map okay?
Yes.
Yes.
This is, Main Street's out here. Franklin Street goes east to Haverhill. So this is the area. There's, this new development right in here.
Okay.
And in your packet was a document, late in the summer, Conservation approved this deed. The select board are also required to approve it. Conservation has not yet had it notarized. That'll happen. And then Caitlin will be happy to notarize your vote. So this is somewhat of a technicality. The Conservation Commission has done all the work, and they just need you effectively, I'll use the word, to ratify their work.
Got it. And this is 6 single-family lots?
Correct.
I think all of the homes, I think 5 or all of the homes have been started by this point. This has been ongoing for a few years. I drive by all the time.
Okay, so our role is just to approve the deed and transfer. It's already happening, it's not,
Yeah, it's been in process, yeah.
okay.
Bob, I was a little confused as to why some of those pieces of engineering plans were in there. Is there anything else we need to take away from that? I mean, I could see I don't know if it says easement here, but the path.
I don't think so, Karen. I think, let me just share one more document.
Okay.
What you're actually doing is, here is the deed. It's very short. You can see in July, Conservation approved it. Well, you can see it over here. Here's all the Conservation signatures, and you're just asked to do it. I really don't think, there's some details in there if you were really interested, but all you're doing is accepting Conservation's work and just, as I said, ratifying it. If you had any questions for Conservation, we could certainly stop and ask them. And I couldn't probably answer them if they're detailed. That was just for background though, just for completion.
And just a quick question, parcel A, I saw is marked as not a buildable lot, so that shouldn't be coming back to us at some point with a desire to build on it? It's kind of a weird shape. I don't see how you could build on it, but.
Yeah, let me show that up again. So what's Mark's pointing out is right here, the rear of lot 3. And that is, it has no access, it is not buildable. I don't know what the plans are, Mark, but I don't see any way that becomes buildable unless it's attached to Eastway, some of the other properties.
Yeah.
It looks small. Those lots would
Yeah.
tend to be half acres, although lot 3 looks big. Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, do we need to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that means you have a motion.
Do you want to go through them one at a time? Might as well do it.
Oh, sorry, the whole consent agenda. Are there any other questions on the recalc or on we've already discussed the insert, so we're really just voting on it. We discussed it at our last meeting, I believe.
So, Carlo, do you want to say something about RICO?
Yes, thank you. Last night, Mark and I had the pleasure of interviewing candidates. One cannot attend last night, but we plan to appoint that person as well. I learned a little bit more from some of the candidates, and the needs and the wants, and there's a good mix of applicants that we are going to recommend tonight. And I can't wait to see this move forward. And next year when we start, when the committee brings us a update, progress report, recommendations, whatever you want to call it, and then we go forward from there. So this is a good initiative to get this thing going that's been talked about for many years. So I'm glad to be part of the process.
Super. I could just add, so the candidates really were very good. We did learn a lot about them. Many have a lot of background in this area and a mix of thoughts and feelings, but a desire to kind of dig in and work on it. And the skills range from having a lot of involvement in the community to a lot of involvement in elder services to a lot of involvement in managing projects. And I think it's a good cross-section of folks who volunteered. They're all game to dig in, and it sounded great. So
I
we needed to
concur.
get 4, and we got 4.
Yeah, great applicants. All right. Okay, David, thank you for coming again. I don't know if you want to add anything else? We're just,
I just came for questions or
Okay.
any issues or whatever.
thank you.
And I'm assuming Laura has said this is easy enough for inclusion in
I
this.
haven't talked to Laura
Okay.
since then. I did pull out some of the original communications with Bob and with where he decided that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura's fine with it.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
excellent.
And the board discussed it last time, you just hadn't posted anything about voting, so we
Right.
suggested it was a little safer to post it tonight.
Okay, yep.
I think that was me.
Oh, sorry. One of those lawyers.
I know, seriously.
Not acting as lawyer,
Charlie
just
asked
acting as
any
a
precinct
concerned
questions.
board member who's been the recipient of enough.
Got it.
I was expecting more precinct questions. I was ready. I was sitting there settling in. Okay, so
Ready
did
for
we?
a motion?
Yes, we're ready for a motion.
So
Thank you.
move to approve the items under the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Any discussion? None appearing. Carlo?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Terrific. Thank you for that hard work. Thank you, Mark. And
If I might just add that another set of documents, Karen, you should have in that folder also for board signatures,
Yep.
is the deed for S&L Homes, and I'll be down later to get it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin, can I just ask you what's the process for reaching out to newly appointed members? Does Laura reach out to them? Does the clerk's office reach out and tell them to come in and get sworn in? Is that how it works?
Yeah, or well, someone, our office, so I will reach out to them tomorrow, let them
Happy
know they're
Thanksgiving.
appointed. I CC Laura on all the emails, so they know to go to Laura to get sworn in. And then, yeah, they're good.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, and then we had, in terms of forming a committee, and you actually have the best experience on this one from Park. Kind of getting that first meeting set up,
Mhm.
just you take initiative and get it started, and is that the best way?
Yeah, it's essentially, because it's scheduling, you can group everybody in. And then, I just sent out an email to everyone. We picked some dates, doodle poll, et cetera, got everything narrowed down, and that's essentially it, so. But yeah, the doodle poll thing, because everyone's got different schedules, so.
Seen that a lot lately.
One quick question actually before we move ahead, now that I think about it. Didn't we say that the committees that appointed, that suggested members, that our board would still vote on them as
Yeah.
part of the process? I think we said that we would do that when we voted on the other members. In other words, for rec and
So this,
for,
yeah. Yep, So we can do that, because it does say vote to appoint members to ad hoc Reading Center for Active Living Committee, so we can appoint other members as well. And have another vote for additional members.
I think we should do that.
Do you need additional members?
So,
Right,
So I'm not following.
so the Council on Aging appointed or suggested John Parsons.
Okay.
And then the Rec Committee and Mike Coltman. Suggested Mike Coltman. And so they have brought those names forward, and I think that we had asked in the paperwork that we would actually appoint them more
Yes.
formally.
Yeah, since it's generic. Okay.
So can I make a motion to also appoint
Yes.
John Parsons as the representative of the Council on Aging and Mike Coltman as the representative of the Rec Committee to the recalc?
Second.
As the designee of the chair of the
As
Recreation
the-
Committee.
Yes, as the designee of the chairs of their committees.
Second. Did you get that, Caitlin? Or Mark?
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Second, you said second.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Great. Okay, board members, are we ready for a vote? Carlo?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Super,
folks.
good job. That's a
Just
good
wanted to put
catch.
the bow
Yeah,
on that
thank
one.
you. It's always nice to have less things to put on the agenda. Future agendas. Okay, thanks. All right, very good. Okay, that brings us to 9:35, Select Board Liaison and Town Manager reports. So we're only 5 minutes behind, which is fabulous. Bob, would you like to go first tonight?
Sure, mine's quick.
Okay.
I'd ask everyone to keep an eye on local media, et cetera, as they enjoy Thanksgiving. The COVID numbers are climbing up just as they did a year ago. I'm sure many in the community know we had to close the Pleasant Street Center because an employee tested positive, and
No, I did not.
we deep cleaned it over the weekend and closed it through the balance of this week, so it will not be open until next Monday after Thanksgiving if all goes well. For those that may have been exposed, it was a 5-day waiting period. I believe that's up either today or tomorrow. So there's, all the people who had need to get tested have been contacted. They're aware of that. And it's possible they were tested today, but we don't have results back. So, the Board of Health and health staff is well on top of this, but the local numbers are ticking up just like they are in the state, just like they are in most parts of the country. So, just ask people to be especially cautious as they enjoy Thanksgiving. And our new health director, Ade Solarin, will begin to meet the board as part of the budget presentation in early December. And he's very, very much looking forward to that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. We look forward to meeting him.
Okay, Select Board members, liaison reports? Chris?
Thanks, Karen. So yes, the park had met and voted to extend into February and then come before the select board on December 7th, which you already have scheduled for, I think, 9:15, I think is what it is on the agenda. So essentially, everything's narrowed down, I would say, to about 10 different bullet points of all the various changes in all of the downtown area. So Bernie and Liz will come on the 7th, update everyone, and that's where we're at for Park. And then with the Historic Committee, I know Summer Ave is still ongoing. And I'd like to say that there's developments in that, but it looks as if it's the same old, same old.
Has that meeting happened, Chris? I think there was a meeting coming up
Or the Park or Summer Ave?
for Summer Ave.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Were you able to attend? I can watch it on.
No,
Oh,
it had executive session. I didn't want it to get weird if I was gonna be there or not, so.
I think would have kicked you out.
But yeah, from subsequent things that I've seen after that, it looks as if it's just same old, same old.
Okay, so nothing's moving forward.
I think we're gonna be talking about this for another 5 years. But that's only my opinion. I am just one person. It just seems as if it's just gonna sit.
It's really unfortunate.
I don't know how, like I said when I first started this, I don't know how it's existed for as long as it has, and it seems as if it's gonna continue. And it's rather unfortunate.
Is there any reason to have the commission present to us? Is there anything to present?
I don't think there is. It's more of, I mean, I can always ask if that's something that they want to do. I just think that we're at the stage where it's nothing's going to be done, unfortunately. I had high hopes, everyone did, but I don't understand, it doesn't make sense to me why it isn't, what the end game is, or what the deal is, but I guess they can come in and update everyone and just know that we've been looking at it kind of thing, but I think from a town standpoint, our hands are tied and it's just gonna be an ongoing thing, unfortunately.
Has legal been involved?
Okay, Bob's got his hand. I was just gonna ask if there's anything going on the town side. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be cautious of the board saying anything else. This is a legal matter and in executive session with town council's presence with two of your appointed boards, so I just leave it at that for now.
Got it.
Can I ask if there have been any public requests for any business permits that you know of? Any activity like that?
I don't know, Karen. That doesn't mean there haven't been. I just don't know. But that has not come up, so my guess is no, there hasn't been.
Okay, just checking. All right, thank you. Anybody else? And
So an update from the ad hoc town manager screening committee. I will do my best to share as much as I can with the board without violating the confidentiality of candidates or jeopardizing the ongoing process. But the board, the screening committee rather, has met 3 times since last Wednesday. As Bernie, our consultant, explained in open session, there were 23 applicants. And I think we were all really pleased with the pool. We have engaged in reviewing resumes and interviewing candidates. We're hoping to confirm with the board our availability for interviews that the screening committee can present candidates to the full board. We're looking at the week of December 7th, the week of Monday, December 7th. Bob, I know Karen had emailed you earlier today asking about the 15th. I think we would like to be able, I'm sorry, it's not Monday the 7th, it's 6th. Monday is the 6th, but we were curious about Monday or Tuesday as possibilities. I think, or the Saturday to follow. I think Saturdays seem to be out for board members. I think, Carlo, you said you prefer Monday. Chris, I think you said you prefer Tuesday. Our Monday and Tuesday, it's starting around 5 p.m. And we would have a board, if we were to choose Tuesday, we would have another, additional board meeting to follow. But could we make Monday and or Tuesday a possibility with respect to scheduling times for candidates?
Yeah, I mean, Tuesday always works good for me, so it doesn't matter what time it is then.
Okay.
But Monday, if 4 other people are fine with it, I will make it work.
Okay. How about you, Carlo? Earlier in the day on Tuesday, like if we did a 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, would that be feasible for you?
Yeah, as many of you know, I've been in the height of my season and it won't
Right.
stop till about a week before Christmas.
Right.
So I will make it work, if, you know, it's gonna be hybrid, so I can, do it from work and then just attend our meeting, you know, via Zoom as well, or just drive home if I need to, but Monday or Tuesday, I know this is important. I work 7 days a week, so Saturday we do production. It's not really a
Saturday
good
is
time.
sounds like a non-starter, so,
Yeah, so Monday or Tuesday night, whatever the majority rules, I will make it happen.
okay, all right. I think I'll let, Bernie know and the screening committee know then that we could make either work, so.
Chris, that might have an impact on the slot for Park on the 7th. Do you think could you make the committee okay with that if we need to?
To what, bump them, or I think you had it for 9:15 if I recall.
Right, yeah, we might need to move them. Even to another night possibly, but we don't know yet, so.
Yeah, I would just say, I CC'd you on the email to Bernie and Liz, so if you wanna work something out with them, I mean,
Is that the night you were gonna ask for, a change to the charge, or not a change to the charge, just an extension?
Didn't we already vote on that? I thought we did.
I thought we voted.
No, we haven't.
I thought it was.
I think they have to
You
come
said
and
you
make a
voted,
request.
Yes,
right?
we
But hadn't
did
voted.
vote, yes,
Yeah.
to February of 22,
So you voted to February, and when
Yes.
does your current committee,
December 31st.
the end of the month?
Yeah.
I mean, the end of the year, so as long as that could be a quick Zoom meeting as well, so that's the only thing, we're trying to schedule, I don't even know what else, I have to hook up with Bob, but okay. Cause this is pretty important, but this is important too, but I just wanna give you a heads up.
Yeah, like I said, you have their info, if you wanna work something out where, whatever, it's, you know,
Okay.
it's with them.
Well, we'll see. Ian forgot to mention the committee voted her the chair, so she'll,
Oh, yes, I am the chair of the screening committee, and Karen is the secretary, so.
Awesome. Bob's got his hand up.
Oh, Bob.
Thanks. On December 7th, you're scheduled to approve licenses as well as liquor licenses. So depending on what you're going to do that night, that's an important thing for us to notify people if you want to see them. Sometimes the board has asked the liquor license to come in, sometimes they've not. So I'm just thinking logistically, that's something that should be worked out as quickly as possible.
yeah. And to be clear, is that are those hearings, Bob?
No, they're
They're
not.
not hearings. Okay, that's a miracle. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, and was that it? I was looking at an old agenda for that day, so was that the only thing we had sort of talked about for that night?
Let me share it with you again.
Thank you.
Here's the.
Here's the December 7th draft agenda. There's actually one more thing to approve debt. We're planning to sell debt. We just found out this afternoon. We're okay to sell it December 1st, so the board will need to approve debt either the 7th or the 8th.
Hopefully.
And the 8th and the 14th right now are just full budget meetings.
And on the 7th,
So,
on the 7th, we also are approving the MAPC, energy reduction plan, yeah, okay.
so it looks like this meeting could get pushed, back an hour or more if you may need to. But there are some things that would be helpful for you to get done that night if possible.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Just so the board knows, I'm not able to attend on the 8th. No
Okay.
issues, but that's my last Wednesday night of teaching. So,
That's good to know.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you about that.
7th.
Okay.
If there are things
Okay,
other than presentations, if we can do those on the 7th, that I would prefer that if it's possible.
okay.
And the
That's-
14th is fine.
That's good to know,
So is the 15th.
because if we were to do, if we were to think about having candidates come in and then, because I think sort of back of my mind was maybe on the 8th, we could actually vote on, on the town manager candidates, but having, interviewed them, but that would not work.
Yeah, would not. Now, the 14th, 15th are both good for me. The 8th is the only conflict I have.
Is the 8th, bad from like from a certain time on? Like if we did like a 6:30?
I'm from 3:30 to 10.
3:30 to 10, okay. All right.
You better not
Other
do
than
that
that,
next
I'm wide
semester.
No, my schedule changes
Oh, that's
in
good.
January.
Okay.
So I apologize, that's just, the 8th is just not
All right.
possible. It's the last class.
Good luck on that.
Can I just ask Ann a question? Are you able to, within confidentiality
Yeah.
things, is any of the applicants for the town manager from Reading?
So I think I should probably not speak to that. You should, I feel, if I were you, I would reach out to Bernie. He may be able to answer some questions for you that I don't have as good a sense of whether, I don't want to violate anyone's confidentiality, so.
Okay.
It's pretty sensitive. Yep. All right. Just for all of the candidates. Okay. All right.
In terms of, I'm just remembering what Bernie did, I don't know
And
if you.
open, I can't remember where
What-
open was in.
Right, I'm remembering what he did say in open session is that there are people from all over, so.
Yeah, I heard that
That's a
also, but
broad
I
statement, it's a broad
thought,
statement, I know,
yeah,
but, yeah.
it's, could be New Hampshire at that point, so.
Okay. I don't even want to ask. Did you watch that part of the meeting? It's pretty short. I mean, he said things that were
Oh, yeah.
okay to say, but you saw that part. Okay. I don't, at this point, we've been in meetings for 2 days, so I don't know what was said and what was in executive. I'm afraid to open my mouth, so I won't. Okay.
No worries, I'll shoot him an email and we'll see what happens.
All right. That's it for, okay. Carlo, do you have any liaison updates?
No, I don't, thank you. Well, I do, maybe an announcement, not an update. I think we all received emails and town meeting and a lot of other boards and committees, but CPDC is gonna be, opening up a hearing on December 6th, I believe, on the smart growth overlay district.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that. It will be more than one meeting, of course, but that is gonna be the start of that. And just wanted to mention that.
I think it might be 7 o'clock start, does that sound right?
Don't quote me on that, but typically it is.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I don't know the exact time, I forget, but I'm pretty sure of the date is December 6th.
Okay. Did you get to the liaison?
I didn't, the only one I want to mention is that, just to remind the board, next Tuesday night, the 30th, 6 PM, we have the virtual dementia-friendly Reading training session to take place.
Do you
So
know
all
if they're going to be
virtual.
able to record that so that I could watch it like the next day or so?
Yeah, I think I may have asked Megan about that, and I think it was fine, but I'll make sure.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. So that's, there were a couple other meetings, but not really any updates to share. Nothing
Okay.
not worthy of update right now.
Since our last meeting, I had the pleasure, as did Chris and Ian, and I think I got everybody, of participating in another wonderful Veterans Day event that our Veteran Service Officer and many other staff members, so town manager, assistant town manager Jean Delios there, and thank you. It was a really wonderful day and beautiful weather for our veterans, and so nice to see people in person still. And I also had the opportunity to go see the Reading Municipal High School drama musical, Zombie Prom, and congratulations to them for getting back in front of live audiences. I know they were excited, and it was a really wonderful production as usual. That's it.
And I just to piggyback on your comments about the Veterans Day event, it was lovely. Karen did a very nice job speaking on behalf of the board, and Deputy Chief Christine Amendola gave some really powerful remarks. As many of you know, she's a veteran herself.
Agreed.
It was definitely, I did not expect the amount that she has actually been through and participated in. Everything was overwhelming. I've had like 3 jobs my whole life. She's probably done 3 things in the last 15 minutes. Like, it's pretty wild the amount of stuff that she has been through. So it was good to hear though.
That's
Okay, very good. We have no one here for public comment. Caitlin, is there anybody in the Zoom? Okay. Next on our item would be discuss future agendas, which we did a little bit. So Bob, just for December, could you review what the select board is scheduled for? We talked about the 7th. Just kind of put it in front of us, like how many real?
Yeah, let me get that back up on the screen.
Oh, thank you. I'm just trying to get straight in my head, how many opportunities we will have to meet in December that we can actually schedule work that we need to get done
Okay.
versus the budget discussions.
So right now, the board is tentatively scheduled to meet Tuesday, the 7th, and that's kind of a regular meeting, if you will, with, liquor licenses and other things that you mentioned. The next night, Wednesday, December 8th, and then the following Tuesday, December 14th, town budget should be able to be presented to you in 2 nights.
Okay.
It'll be a pretty full 2 nights. The second night might have a little extra space if you need it. And then that's the only thing scheduled of those 3 nights. We had put the 15th, the second Wednesday in the calendar in case you needed it. We will not need it for budgets, whether you needed it for the search process. That's still a possible date, but I know you're also talking about the 6th and the 7th.
So my thought was too, if we have to bump important things off of the 7th, we could potentially do the 15th to take care of that.
Yeah.
It's possible you could add them to the 14th. That's a shorter budget night. You can just see there's a couple departments.
Okay.
I can talk to the department heads, we can work on that. The department head schedule, some of it is fixed because it does involve boards and committees attending. So the 14th, you will see the trustees and some of the public services boards attend. So it's possible you may be able to bump some of those into these dates.
Okay.
And it depends on how much you're bumping. If you're bumping half an hour to an hour, you could probably do it on the 8th. But, you guys work on your schedule when you want to meet, and then we can work on that, Karen.
Okay, that's very helpful.
And one thing maybe would be just aware of Mark's being mindful of Mark's availability too.
Try to keep those.
One possibility, and we'll see
15.
how things play out, but maybe a possibility would be to do interviews on the 6th and then vote on the 7th. So.
Okay, December 8th was Mark can't be there.
That's the only one.
Yep.
If the 15th were a useful date, I can be there on the 15th.
Okay. I did have one request from the chair of the rec committee. She would like us to, and this can be in the new year, Bob, but we can add it to future agenda items. She would like us to formally adopt the Birch Meadow master plan that was completed. And that's all I have with that.
What does adopt that mean?
Vote to recognize it, make it official. Apparently, we've never done that. We spent all this time and energy doing it. We hired consultants and we have it.
I'm trying to understand
we could-
what that means. So does adopt the plan mean that we're doing everything? Does it mean it's in our purview? I mean, I guess.
So we adopted a sustainability plan. We approved it. I think it just means that we have a plan and I'm thinking of along the same lines as the green community, a plan where we're gonna adopt a plan. Plans can change. Yeah, and
Okay.
no more than that, I think. But yeah, it's kind of a little inconsistent that we haven't, I thought we had adopted it.
Got it.
Oh, hi Chris, yep.
Yes, thanks, Karen. In terms of future agenda stuff, I guess mine is twofold. The communication policy update was supposed to be on this one, but I believe it got bumped for other stuff for
So
time.
I am waiting for you to tell me that you've been working on this, you have changes ready to go. I did check in with town council and she said you hadn't brought anything to her yet. And I said, okay, so he's probably not ready, so that's what.
No, this is separate. This is our what we voted on two and a half months ago, and then to revisit it 2 months later, kind of thing. It was on this agenda, but then got
We were talking about revisiting it to see how it was working, you know.
Okay.
If we're, you know, I think we kind of want to say, oh, well, the last time we talked about it, and voted on it, we thought, what is going to be the impact of this? Will there be a sudden
Okay.
uptick in public records requests as a result of not printing email or publicizing emails in the packet, et cetera? I think these were all things we kind of just wanted to do a gut check and reality check about after we put the policy in place.
Okay, so what I had on the future agenda items was just a little more generic, so, how do we wanna phrase this? And we can get them.
It was a communication policy update, I believe is what it was. I only bring it up because the two new OML complaints are referencing email stuff once again. So I think it would be helpful for us to somewhat mitigate that. And I guess are those being scheduled as well for the agenda?
We'll have
two.
to do, yeah, we'll have to do that.
Because I didn't see those.
Everybody will be in the everybody will be in touch, yep. Okay, so I'm just trying to, we wanted to, like, I don't wanna put an agenda item that says gut check, but do you have another way that we could phrase that? Cause I understand what you're saying, but when I see it,
Communications policy.
which seems too broad, which means like we're just gonna have like a really open discussion about the whole communications
That's-
policy, which is I thought you wanted to go in there and look at some things
No.
and bring back suggestions.
No, that's, my thing was with just releasing all the documents that we have that have been, you know, throughout the year that haven't been made public. This was just our email communication policy, but it was on this future agenda item list, but then got removed from today. But it was-
Chris, it is listed as a future agenda item.
Yeah, but, yes, but it was under future agenda, but for the 23rd, it was listed as, yes, as just communication policy update is what it was.
So do you just wanna list it as communication policy, communication/email policy?
What it says, I actually think what is on here as a future agenda works very nicely. It says revisit select board communication/email policy.
Yeah.
I think that works.
So what do we need, 15 minutes?
Okay. Would it be helpful, it sounds like what we need is to ask the clerk to collect some information, some data on kind of the before and after. That would be really helpful to us so we can see
So,
how
yeah.
it's changed.
Yeah, I think almost have that information. The conversation is pretty brief.
Yeah, and it wouldn't take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So Chris, could you take that as a to-do item?
Yes, I'll reach out to Laura and
Alright,
see what we can do.
that would be great.
I'd be curious myself to know
Yeah.
Yeah,
how it's changed.
alright, so give me an idea,
Yes.
let me know, give me an idea how much time she needs,
Mhm.
and then, okay, thank you. Alright. Anything else?
So Bob had brought up the question about what we want to do with the liquor licenses, because that's our next meeting. And if we want to see people or not. Bob, can you give us an indication, have the compliance checks already been taking place, the regular visits? And I know it's not an agenda item, but is there a reason why, from your perspective, it would be helpful to have people come in which case we could schedule it?
There's been no violations in recent memory. There's visits yet to be completed by police and other staff in advance of the licensing process. But no, unlike past years where there's been reasons to bring in, one or two licensees, or if it's, more than two, then the whole bunch, there is not any example of that this year.
Thanks. And Caitlin, from your perspective, is all the documentation flowing, the updates on serve safes and whatnot? Or is there someone else that we might wanna, help them remember that?
I'm currently in the middle of collecting all their annual renewals, which includes their paperwork for the ABCC, and then they're getting their annual inspections next week. Those are all scheduled, and someone from the police department and then some staff members will go visiting next week. They have their list of stuff that they look for and go through, and so after those inspections, I could give you a better idea, but right now we
look like we're in good shape.
So fellow board members, would we be okay not having them come in unless something is not completed? In which case we'd ask those people to be invited into our meeting on the 7th? Does that sound like a reasonable approach? Or would you like to see everybody?
If something's not completed, then wouldn't they not be in? Or they wouldn't they not be eligible for renewal? So wouldn't anyone who is an applicant have everything complete?
They absolutely should. Now, it's possible theoretically, I don't remember this happening, that you could approve something contingent on something being done. Because technically, the licenses don't take effect till January 1st.
Okay. Sure, I think if, in that case, if that eventuality transpired, we could do something like that, and it would make sense to have that person or applicant come in.
Yeah, I think we probably still want to kind of reinforce to everybody the importance of compliance and things. But whether or not we need to take them away from their business to do that is another question.
And just to be clear, do they need to see us on December 7th? Or could we take them on, if we find some time somewhere else and we need the 7th for the town manager process?
They need to see you in December, that's all.
Right. So hopefully all of their work will be done next week, the week after Thanksgiving. And they don't look like long agenda items, and, okay, all right.
I'm hoping the inspections next week are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So my thought was would hope to have everything before Thursday for your packet for the 7th. And it can give you an update of if we're missing anything major or not, but.
And I think we would hope to have any town manager applicant interviews on either date done by about 8 o'clock. I know, Bernie doesn't want us interviewing candidates at, next candidate up, it's 9:30 at night. That's definitely not ideal. So I think, we would aim to be done with that part of any agenda by around 8. So that would still leave time for things like, that are on the future agenda here, so.
Okay, I appreciate the flexibility. I feel like we can not be so fluid in a couple meetings. All right, thank you. Any others? I think Carlo gave up to go ice his shoulder.
Yeah.
All right, okay, if no more future agenda items, then the last item on our list would be to adjourn to executive session.
Actually, I think there are minutes first.
Oh, okay, thank you. We have one set of minutes, I believe?
Yes, from your last meeting.
Thanks. On time, but it's been a long day. But it's good to be on time.
They need to be bigger?
Yes, please. Bigger.
That good?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So there was a couple spots, you guys all edited a few similar areas, so you guys can work it out which edits you wanna go for or not.
All right.
This was the first set from Mark for his date.
No objection. No objection.
I don't have any objections to those either.
Good, good. You can change your mind.
This next update to Karen's liaison report. I think Karen edited it and Mark edited it, so I tried to put them together a little bit.
Did Mark and I have the same edit above their
Yes,
wiki?
yeah, for the
Good catch.
That's funny.
we actually did that twice, another part too.
Purchase, yeah, that's fine. Mark's additions work.
Mark, you okay with that?
Yes,
For down here, adding your part into.
yes, yep, looks good.
Chris, you all good with these?
Yes, thank you.
Thank
This
you.
one you had, all three of you edited it a little bit.
I couldn't remember the proper language for the cemetery marker.
I
Thank
think
you.
it's markers, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the reason I just said Chris Haley agreed that it was the least they could do is I just wanted to, because otherwise I was just afraid it was gonna sound like Chris agreed on waiving the fees, but not necessarily like, but not, no one else did kind of thing, so.
No, it was all of us.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Let's see, maybe.
I just wanted to clarify who the
Yeah.
Honda dealership was,
Okay.
just who the people are. No, that's the other one.
Down here
Here we
again.
are.
Oh, good, that's clarified. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I think I need to edit my own edit. Sorry. In the line where it starts of any conditions that make any board members who will be there present, I should have written who will be there uncomfortable. So the whole thing is like, I would not vote in favor of any conditions that make any board members who will be there uncomfortable.
Okay, the crazy part is I read uncomfortable in my head and I didn't even notice it wasn't there because I remember you saying that. Okay.
I'm fine with that change.
Does that make sense? Does the board? Yeah. Everyone okay with those?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes. Should be November 23rd meeting.
Yes, it should be November 23rd meeting, not 22nd. Yep, thank you.
I added some missing members here from
Very
Karen.
good. Yeah, you couldn't see
Thank
those
you.
people. Yeah, no worries. You weren't the only one.
Good, all good there.
Dave Talbot was there. I don't think I even.
He didn't say anything. Yeah, he was on the
realized
Zoom.
that.
We had a couple edits from a couple members on this one too, so.
Okay, okay. Okay, that works.
So does the first line say felt losing a parking spots?
That should be a that.
It's Chris Haley and Carlo Vacci felt losing parking spots in front of, so.
Just
I
cross
don't
out the
think
A.
I made
Yeah.
it, I made it a parking spot.
No, because there's three of them.
I thought one was Chris first, but okay. So that.
Well, yes, it's technically, we're losing one because it's, because the electric vehicles need, 8 and 10 feet or something on either side, but in the grand scheme, we're losing 3 if you don't have an electric vehicle. But however you want to put that.
So, but, I mean, I think we should say it the way you said it in the meeting, so you said parking spots is the way you were
Yeah, that's-
talking about in the meeting, okay. Then I rescind my edits there, I wanted to reflect what Chris said accurately, I was just thinking it was. So it could be spots, plural.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's good. Perfect. Good with the rest of it?
Yes.
Yes.
And he did. Oh, okay, no, different topic. Never mind. He's gonna come back to us.
Everyone okay with that addition?
Yes.
Alright, that was it?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Caitlin. Your last meeting,
wait, wait.
meeting minutes for a while.
Sorry, yes, we just have to approve them.
Yep, no, she's gonna say. Oh, I was just thinking, she won't have to do any more meeting minutes for a while. She's gonna be so sad about that. I would be.
Mine is breaking as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it too.
Okay.
My Tuesday nights will be so boring.
I know. You can always watch from home while you're off. Baby might find it soothing.
So I'm looking, what is the date of those minutes?
November 9th.
November 9th. Okay, so motion to approve the minutes of November 9th, 2021 as amended.
Second. Any discussion? Ready for a vote? Ann? Yes. Chris? Sorry, Mark?
Yes.
And Karen? 4-0. We could have actually just raised our hands, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's after 10.
All right, you ready for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, move that the board go into executive session, including staff members Barbara LaShure and Caitlin Saunders Nocella, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and approve contracts for the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO Local 1640, and Public Works asks me, Council 93, Local 1703. Further, the chair declares that an open meeting could have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the body, and the board will not reconvene in open session.
Second. Thank you, Mark. Okay,
All in favor?
I think we're second. Yes.
Did we vote?
No discussion? Okay. Ready to vote? Ann? Well, okay, everyone raise their hands who would like to go to an executive session. Excellent, 4-0. Okay.
Any chance that you guys